The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. It's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will offer you a 10% discount on your legal fees. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. So many services that they offer, including what we have termed, and just us have termed, the big three.
The big three, the wills, the probate, conveyancing. They're your standard ones.
Yeah.
Everyone needs those. Well, not everyone. Most people. If you're going to buy a house, you definitely need some of those things, don't you? And if you're going to die, I suppose you'll need a will at some point.
I mean, we all will.
Yeah.
Death and taxes and all that.
So get it sorted out.
Yeah. And all the negligences, professional.
Yep.
Medical.
Mm-hmm. Moscow, any others?
No, I just do things right and then I'm legally sound.
Good lad. Anyway, get your discount, levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Dan here with Michael and Moscow White as we head into the weekly show. Slightly abridged this week because we're not doing heroes and villains. There is been no football in terms of the full calendar. However, the good news is we have a trophy, we have a plate, and it's a bloody big plate as well, isn't it? Well done to the women's team that beat Starbridge 3-1 in the final, the FAWNL plate final.
Did you watch it? I watched it.
I did watch it all from start to finish, yes.
Dominant. It was a bit unfair when they equalised. It was a bit like, that's a bit Leedsy to have completely dominated the game, but still been drawing, but still. Justice was done.
And it had been a really good opening goal as well. I loved. It's a shame that the first shot from Hannah Woodruff didn't just go in, because it reminded me of, if you want a comparison, Viduka against Arsenal. Like long ball, and then control, taking it inside round a defender, except it was with the outside of the boot. Did Viduka score with the outside of his boot at Highbury?
Yeah.
He must have done. He must have done.
Another one you're thinking of.
I can't remember if he used his left foot, though. Did he use his left? Anyway, Woodruff outside of the right boot, and it was going in, but very good save. And then it was Maisie Ellis storming in, and then a great moment in the celebrations from Abby Brown going, ha, at the Stourbridge fans behind the goal.
They were quite narky with the Stourbridge fans, actually. I noticed them cheering free kicks being given and stuff. I was thinking, shut up.
So
there was nothing. I didn't think there were any particularly bad decisions.
Or bad tackles. Leeds players were absolute saints.
As
out on that
always.
football pitch.
I enjoyed Olivia, who has done our episode with Flora over on the Extra Ball. She previewed Stourbridge as well. She went in and got a good solid yellow, I think it was, when she earned that. I was very proud.
All the yellows were fair, solid, good tackles.
But no, I was really pleased because I stuck the England game on the telly. The Ukraine game, wasn't it, at the same time?
Yeah, the sort of second half clashed with it, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, and I was watching this on YouTube and just completely ignored the England game and got sucked into it and got quite invested in the outcome, which was good, a positive outcome. I was dead pleased when they went in front again because, like you say, it was deserved, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was Abby Brown scoring that one from a rebound, and then Woodruff getting her goal at the end. I love a diving header.
It was a very good header, actually.
So I love this goal.
Yeah, and I think just from, the more time we spent around Olivia and speaking to her, there's so many good people involved in this who are giving up, what scant spare time they have around full-time jobs to make this happen. And I don't know, there's just something very, very warming about this because, you're reminded this is a club that's kind of fallen down the leagues because the club basically divorced themselves from it in years previous under previous ownerships. So it's going to be a long old road back. So it was just really nice that it felt like a proper, marker in the ground moment, this one.
There were a lot of those kind of hints and memories around the place. If you read Flora's report on our website of the game, she points out it was Sue Smith who was handing over the plate at the end, who was in the Leeds team the last time they won something when Rick Passmore was in his previous stint as manager, and that was with Ellen White and Rachel Daly, who won the Euros this summer. So it's kind of a example of the two ways things have gone. I mean, Sue Smith herself had 93 caps for England, and then kind of it's the next generation they were very young players at the time in 2010, and then this summer won the Euros for England, and all that kind of coming back a little bit. England, Leeds are still a long way from the top, but it's kind of being able to actually just stick a trophy on the shelf from a national level competition is a good kind of step back towards winning things at the top level. I mean, it's funny because there is a reorganisation of the women's game being proposed again, with Karen Carney in charge of the committee that's looking into that. So hopefully she will be remembering her good experiences with Leeds fans and looking favourably on a structure that perhaps makes it a little bit less difficult for Leeds to climb four regional, well, it's 2 regional divisions they've got to get through, which means funneling up into one place from north and south into the championship. It's playoffs, and it's like even winning they could get promoted, win the division that they're in above this one, and then it's still a playoff to get into the championship at the moment. So it's a long old
that is hard
road. But on the way, get a big plate.
And it is a big plate, and it's not quite bin lid sized, but it's not far off. Did you see any of the esports stuff? Such was the dearth of Premier League action over the weekend that I ended up watching a bit of the esports stuff.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. It's basically some boys playing FIFA against each other on the Xbox and then on the PlayStation. And the trophy for winning it, and Leeds United won it, the Leeds Fury, won a trophy almost identical to the plate in terms of size. And
the Tottenham player that they beat in the final cried, didn't he? Cried. He was crying.
To be fair, you win 30 grand for winning this tournament. On top, I don't know if you get prize money on top of that for getting to certain rounds. It was like 15 grand for the semis and then 30 grand for the finals. So not to be sniffed at.
Wow. Are the Leeds fans taking part, or are they like, is it the same way you sign a footballer who isn't a Leeds fan?
I think it's a bit like that, because one of the lads who, and this is going to sound desperately ignorant of me, but he had a foreign accent, and one of the other lads had a southern accent.
Yeah, Oliopo, I think he's called. I watched it. I think it was during lockdown they were doing this, so I ended up watching one of the previous iterations, and he's been representing Leeds for a few years now.
And my son plays FIFA, so I'm automatically thinking, can I monetize this child?
I'm trying to. Do we know what the prize money is for the FA Women's National League plates? Because it would be interesting to know if it's higher or lower than the amount that they've given to 2 teenagers for playing a computer game over the weekend.
Teenagers,
it's a lot less.
I'd say one of those men was in his 30s, Moscow, comfortably.
Spiritual
Teenagers, yes. With the internationals, obviously, we've had.
It's been good, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed it?
Injuries and illness.
From a medical point of view, someone with a keen interest in pain, it's been great.
So Verba has been on socials saying that his is a quote-unquote small injury sustained with Austria. What do you define as a small injury? Like if you've maybe sprained your little finger?
I mean, I'm always injured in a small way, I would say. I'd say
Mainly the heart?
I reckon about 2006 was the last time I didn't have a small injury of some sort. I've always got like a bad knee or back or shoulder.
I mean, you do never shut up about it.
There's always something in them. It's just being old. But I mean, professional footballers. I'm still scarred from the time Adam Forshaw missed the Derby game, was it, with a small injury, and he was expected to be back. Or was it the Barnsley game? I can't remember. It was sometime around that season, and then we didn't see him for 2 years, which I know isn't the standard way a small injury goes. But I instantly go, well, you just wait, Max. See what happens. But yeah, both him and Willie, not that bad, they've said, without saying much, I guess. And we don't expect Harry to say much either, do we? Because he tends not to.
No, and this is on top of Adams now reportedly being out for the season, which quietly leaked out via American channels, and club have since confirmed the operation on the hamstring, non-invasive operation, which obviously is better than an invasive one.
How do you do a non-invasive operation on a hamstring?
Just look at it really closely.
Is it lasers?
Yeah.
It might just be keyhole or something like that.
That would be invasive, though, wouldn't it? You're invading through a keyhole. It's still an invasion.
Yeah. If someone said, I'm going to pop round, nothing invasive, then they cut a hole in your leg.
What are you doing?
I would say that would count.
Really hurts.
Yeah, the rumour on Wacko started about a week ago that he was out for the season as well. So this is confirmation from a second source, I guess. So
he was on crutches as well, wasn't he? So it's kind of never a good sign.
And there was some more positive international stuff as well, wasn't there? Young Matteo Joseph, we're now rebranding him as Matthew, I think.
Yeah, seems fair.
Now he's officially English.
Yeah, and scoring goals, so that's good.
Liam Cooper led Scotland, from the bench, led Scotland to a victory against Spain. He was a second half sub in that. And maybe that's punishment for Spain leaving out Rodrigo.
And Llorente.
Is he out? I suppose he is still out.
Although Firpo is toying with, is it the Dominican Republic that he's also eligible for. So Spain need to move fast. They've
Did you see Fair Post comments, by the way, this week? He's on the official LUFC pod with
the Pat Bamford show.
Yeah, without Pat.
Yeah, but it's still.
It was Emma and Matt Lewis who were on it with him, and he essentially, quietly in his own disarming way, chucked Jesse under the bus a little bit for his tactics, didn't he? So I didn't have anybody to pass to when I was playing. What do you expect?
It was all up the middle, wasn't it? Was more or less what he was saying, which is what we were all seeing as well. So good to have it confirmed by the players that they disliked it as much as us.
And while we're on a hashtag USMNT tip, they absolutely packed Grenada, didn't they? It was like 7-1, I think.
Weston McKennie scored, didn't he?
Yes.
I'm trying to find his goals because I'd realised I hadn't watched them. I watched the highlights of them beating the other team that they played.
El Salvador.
El Salvador, where McKennie, he missed a great header, well, a big chance with a header, but he played a beautiful through ball.
It was good, that wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and he also did it all with the flu. So he isn't well.
Was it Meg Swanwick who revealed this particular little fact on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, the manager just said it in his press conference.
There'd be that then.
So it was, the thing about he didn't want to hug him because he was playing with a fever and all that stuff. But little Brendan scored against Grenada, so I've seen that goal. He took it around a couple of players and shot in from the edge of the penalty area. It's pretty good. It's kind of prime Brendan. It's what you want.
Did you see Cree Somerville's worldie for the Dutch under-21s, where he kind of...
I've been living under a rock during this, and that's why he scored as well, did he?
Yes, he did. It was very good. Moscow, are you just faffing on your phone on TikTok there, or are you just catching up on these games?
I'm literally watching USMNT versus Grenada.
I was watching it live.
Highlights.
On the radio.
Yes.
The international radio.
Yeah. On the World Service.
Correct.
Carrying it these days. Good.
The visual World Service. But yeah, I
don't think you have to hide that one because the full game was streamed on YouTube.
Oh, was it?
So, yeah, there's no...
I could have just watched it then, couldn't I? Like, legally. Which is what I did.
Which is what you did.
Exactly.
So well done.
Did.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Cree Somerville scored that worldie where he kind of cut in between two defenders. His little snaky body, he sort of
not in a Gary Monk way.
He flicked it sort of from the left to the right and just ran in the little gap and then put it in, and it was dead nice. And Stuart Dallas as well went away with Northern Ireland just for pure vibes.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this till I saw it on the sheet.
It was there as a hype man. Yeah, the Northern Ireland manager just said, "Yeah, we brought him along. He's a good lad, isn't he? Just good for the young lads in the squad."
He said it's to give him a break from just being injured at home.
Yeah. Well, I think he's back on the pitch now, isn't he? Because Stuart Dallas had said that he'd identified this international, and there's one, I think, at the start of the summer, isn't there, where he's hoping to be back for that, but they're not going to rush him for obvious reasons, that his leg basically fell off.
Yeah, and I think it was Michael O'Neill has gone back to manage them, saying I guess after a year of just gym work and rehab and pain and more operations, it's like, get yourself over with the lads and just get out of that for a while and back into the idea of being around the Northern Irish football team. I think they did. Did he do the kit reveal? I think he might have done photos for their new kit as well. So they're kind of keeping him involved because even with one leg, great player.
He is. You see Mellier's comments to Ouest France. I think is how they pronounce that correct, Moscow? Could you just check that for me?
Yes. It's the Ouest France. So there are some Ouest Frances, but this one is the Ouest.
Thank you. Do you want to do Mellier's accent? Do you want to read this in his voice, anybody? It's going to be a bit Pepe Le Pew, I think. But
c'est un grand mal. Je suis project myself so far.
Right, I'm going to stop you there.
There was some French in there. Grand mal, I think that means like big bad.
It would be a mistake to project myself so far. I think he means onward in his career, doesn't he, there?
Yeah, people are like, when are you going to play for Paris Saint-Germain or when are you going to sign for Chelsea or whatever? It's like, it would be a mistake to project myself so far.
There are many steps before a future transfer, a continuation to be sought with Leeds, the Euro under-21s in June. To succeed in all of this, I have to be good because no one will come looking for me if I am not. And if I am asked, I will take time to think about my future with a clear head. By then.
That's not by then.
It is.
No, of course it's not.
He's going to be sold next summer. Not summer coming up, the one after, 2024, bet you.
That's pure just batting away the question. And truth, like, yeah, if I keep playing well, I mean, he says all these things. He's a little joker with his twinkly eyes, isn't he? So he's been asked about will you sign for a Champions League club? And he says, well, I mean,
I'm already at one.
I have to play well because no Champions League club will be interested in me if I'm rubbish. So that's fair. That's fine. It doesn't mean he's leaving.
Just tell me he's staying.
Well, he's staying.
Good.
He's got a few years on his contract, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it will be like dependent on which big club needs a goalkeeper. So that's why he's always.
Chelsea's a good
with,
shout because Chelsea just burn through them, don't they? They make them rubbish.
Yeah,
like, this one's rubbish. It's this 70 million one. Get another.
They're the exceptions where even though they already have like 7 good goalkeepers, they'll just buy another for the sake of it. But the link with Spurs is always because Hugo Lloris is coming to an age where perhaps he should have stopped playing by now. And that'll be what will happen is like when Liverpool want to replace Alisson or Manchester City want to replace Edison. It's like then when there's an opening at a club, when Nottingham Forest want to replace Navas, when one of these big clubs has an opening for a legendary goalkeeper. They'll
replace him before the end of the season or something. He'll get an injury. They'll go, let's get another one.
Yeah.
Emergency something.
So that's how that... It will depend on another club wanting him to a certain extent. But
with reference to Spurs, Conte, mutual consent. Mad, isn't it, that?
Probably not that mutual. Just two people in there and shouting "fuck off" at each other.
That's fairly mutual.
I suppose it is.
Unless it's like, you fuck off, well, I'm going anyway. Well, you can't.
Well, I want my money, dickheads. Was probably as far as the discussion went. I'll leave. I'll gladly leave.
It's all very Spursy, isn't it?
Quite funny. Anyway, it does mean we get Ryan Mason half in charge, doesn't it, for the end of the season? Well, unless they appoint someone.
With Conte's mate.
Bit weird. Where is Chris Armas? Speaking of managers' mates being left behind.
He's gardening, isn't he? Essentially, Javi Gracia has said he doesn't want him. Leeds, and I think Armas is probably saying, well, I still want to be paid. And Jesse...
Damn that 10-year contract.
Jesse is just watching basketball, watching the Princeton Tigers going grrr, having a nice time doing that. So there's been no particular sign of anywhere else for them to go.
Speaking of Tigers, there was a post on Wacko that really tickled me, which was, the Ken Bates article in presumably it was the Daily Mail anyway, reporting on they did the podcast. He's doing his final tour, isn't he, by the looks of it? Hopefully. And in the picture, when he was on the sofa, there was a toy tiger just sat behind him, and the comment just said, I wish that tiger was real and hungry. Really got me. It was a bit weird. Picking over the bones of an old man.
Bit weird, the tiger.
Yeah, looks like he's been sat there like Weekend at Bernie's. Susanna's propping him.
He had his lordship cushion as well, didn't he? In his apartment.
Do you reckon it was him who dialed in the bomb threat?
Didn't they name it as a 20-year-old man?
Well, we should probably...
He could have been putting a voice on, couldn't he?
That's true.
What would Ken Bates sound like if he was impersonating a 20-year-old phoning through a bomb threat?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. But I'm sorry to tell you, there's a device in the Eastern catacombs. I put it there some 15 years ago. Detonated.
He's 20, remember?
Detonated via a pager.
Down with the kids.
That's what the young people use, isn't it?
The East End Catacombs, nice reference for old school.
That's where the nightclub was going to be, wasn't it, under Ken?
No, they were going to build it separate.
Was that separate?
The nightclub would have been...
I was just storage, wasn't it?
Underground-ish on the northeast corner, about where all the sort of northeast corner bar is now.
Yeah, I think the Catacombs was just general fury that there wasn't there wasn't a bar in there or anything.
Put some stuff in it.
Yeah, we've not even put anything in there. We should probably explain the bomb threat.
Yes, so it was evacuated for a couple of days with Ellen Road. I mean, hopefully, everyone's not too traumatised by it because we are now sat here taking the piss out of it. But, that's what we do. Statement on Friday the 24th, police were called to attend at Ellen Road Football Stadium following reports of a security threat to the premises. Investigations are currently ongoing to establish the credibility of that threat. The report was received at 9:49 p.m. last night. Followed up on Monday the 27th, where the spokesperson for West Yorkshire Police said the 20-year-old man arrested in connection with the incident has been released on police bail pending further inquiries. So, if it wasn't the East Stand Catacombs, do you reckon someone at the club would have said, could we just move it around to the West Stand?
I mean, it could be that the pie had become sentient.
Oh, the one that was stuck to the wall.
The wall pie. Maybe it was maybe some a package that's been left there since 1998 has been discovered. Eventually, someone's had a tidy up and been like, "Oh shit, there's a bag here. It's made by Asics and got a Packard Bell sponsor on it."
Just like wires coming out of it. It's probably just a Packard Bell machine.
It says it's got a 1 gigabyte hard drive. I don't know what this is.
That's a lot for the day, isn't it? Bloody hellfire.
But yeah, don't bomb football stadiums, anyone.
No.
It'd be horrible. But hopefully it's one of those things where someone's said something stupid more than had any actual intent.
Yeah.
Because that's often what these things are. So, yeah.
And finally, we bid goodbye to Willie Bell, who passed away at the age of 85. Moscow, you've written a book, so I'll defer to you here about stuff that predates us.
A left back, and I think the significant thing about Willie Bell is how he kept. So he's not one of the best remembered of the Reevy team, because the classic Reevy team at left back is Terry Cooper. But Terry Cooper had to wait quite a long time to get his way in through Willie Bell, because I imagine he was probably quite intimidating. Big old rough Scotsman, Norman Hunter. I think there's a quote from Norman Hunter saying he's probably the hardest player he ever encountered, which, coming from Norman, is quite something. He from 1960 through to 1967 was, I think you can use him to describe the progression of the Reevy team as it got out of Division 2 with the reputation of being dirty Leeds and having the most bookings in the country and being the most rugged and just this team that fights. And then the gradual progression in the first few years in the First Division, when players like Willie Bell and Alan Peacock and the names are escaping me.
You mean that sort of like proto team that led into the great Revy team before we won the league?
Yeah.
Back into the 60s.
Essentially, version 1. Albert Johansson being among them as well. Don Weston. I've found a screenshot of a team photograph, so this helps. So Leeds 1964, when we got promoted, Billy Brown, Paul Reaney, Gary Sprate, Jack Charlton, Norman Hunter, Willie Bell, Johnny Giles, Don Weston, Alan Peacock, Bobby Collins, Albert Johansson. There's a number of names there who then are not associated with the classic Reevy teams, but were absolutely crucial in getting us out of Division 2, because at the time, you can tell by looking at Norman Hunter next to Willie Bell. Norman Hunter he must have been about 19 at this point, and he looks like a smiling, happy, relatively skinny young lad, and he's got this very intense Scotsman next to him with a quiff staring down the camera, who nobody would go near on a football pitch. And we gradually moved away from these very important players who instilled the keep fighting spirit at the club, to players like Terry Cooper, who inherited some of that toughness, but were also, an overlapping left back he was a converted winger, and he was all about skill and so on. And then it's also important with Willie Bell to say, so he was a Leeds player for 7 years, but he then describes, and he went on to he played for Leicester, and he was briefly manager of Birmingham. But then from 1978, he became a born-again evangelical Christian and moved to California. So he spent probably more of his life building a team at a Baptist college, a soccer team that would represent the Lord. And he spent a long time. The students' team was called the Flames. For 21 seasons, he coached them using biblical principles, and he was also doing works to spread the gospel amongst prisoners and helping people find their way to Jesus. So that's as important to Willie Bell as playing for Leeds United would have been in terms of how he spent his entire life. Probably, it's always funny when footballers pass on and you remember the things that they did for like 3 years for your team, and then it's like, but they also had this huge other side to their life that would be very important to them and their family as well. So, really important player in terms of Leeds getting out of Division 2, because I think one thing that you could learn from if you want to buy my book and read it, is that we were
Absolutely shameless.
We were pretty garbage at the start of the 1960s. Jack Taylor, who was the manager before Reevy, was just not having a good time. We'd completely lost. There was no discipline. Training was players were just going off and doing their own thing. It was we signed Freddie Goodwin from Manchester United, and he, even though we were in the same division at the time, he could not believe the difference in standards at Elland Road at the start of the 1960s. And it was players like Willie Bell, Bobby Collins, and all led by Don Reevy, who kind of made sure, one, that we turned into a professional football club again and didn't just drift into Division 3 and obscurity forever, and two, made sure that all these incredibly talented teenagers that Don Reevy and Sid Owen and Les Cocker and Maurice Lindley went and found had the streak of professionalism and fighting spirit that defined them as they became world beaters.
260 appearances, 18 goals. Rest in peace, Willie Bell.
The Square Ball Podcast.